Well, welcome to the Christmas episode of The Edge. I didn't want to put up one of those stupid, year-end things where everyone takes a lot of time off and they give you the best of the last, 3 or 4 months or whatever, the past year. We've only been around for 3 months. I wanted to bring you something for real nitty-gritty, answer your questions. So I asked you on Facebook, Instagram, X, all over the place, YouTube, what are your real questions? And I like to get into that. Just holiday edition, ask me anything. Also send you a nice little Edge t-shirt if I use your question. And the best question, we're going to save some little special gift for the best question. So might as well jump right into it. Pardon my reach. I'm doing this from the home studio, actually from the Christmas tree of the home studio. Be perfectly transparent. And again, the reason why I'm doing this is because we're about the edge, right? We're not about taking time off. I wanted to put something up real. I want to bring some of my real life experiences, because a lot of people say, hey, Bolling, how come you talk about motivation? What have you done? Well, been through a lot of fires, my friends. I've been through the professional baseball fire, went through the whole thing, all the way up to being drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, blew my rotator cuff out, had to make the next pivot, went to Wall Street, dead broke. I think I really should let you know that this house is the product of a lot of hard work, because I walked on Wall Street, not a penny to my name, a resume, and that was it. Saw what I needed to see, knew I had to be there, knew I'd be good at it. And you want to talk about instant scoreboard. We'll get to some of the stories about losing my ass, losing every penny I ever had after making a few bucks on the trading floor, losing all that and then some, finding a way back. This is the reason why I'm doing The Edge. It's an embodiment of 3 or 4 arenas I've been through. And then the final arena was high-level television news, sitting on the anchor chair, with 3, 4, 5 million people watching a night. Light goes on, you're live. There's no time to think. There's no time to, gee, am I prepared? You either put up or shut up, because someone else is waiting to take your chair. So those are 3 professional arenas, and then they have the personal arena of traumatic loss, which we may or may not get into, especially this time of year. But let me just go through a few of the questions that you guys sent. And again, I'll name you, and some of you folks didn't want to be named. So I'll start with I am Stephen McClune, and he goes through the last 4 years. He said, I'm a luxury real estate business developer in Miami and Bimini, and champion the issues that are being resolved here. Stocks are up, prices coming down, trillions of dollars of new business coming in, more money to spend, especially once the 2026 rolls out the tax cuts. And then he goes on to say, with all that being said, for people that are now starting to breathe again after those strangling 5 years of inflation, what should our primary focus be to get to the top? Stocks, bonds, real estate, question mark. What advice would you give as guidance? I think it's a very important question, because we've had a nice run up in the last year or so in the markets. I will tell you, gold and silver have been leading the charge, and we'll get into some of that stuff also. I believe in cryptocurrency. I believe in Bitcoin. It's having a really, really rough last quarter of 2025. I think at some point in 26, first quarter, maybe into the second quarter, you'll see that return to Bitcoin, return to cryptocurrency, the confidence come back. So I certainly would have exposure to gold and cryptocurrency. I think they're kind of the alternate investment that's come of age in my lifetime, certainly. You have to have, I wouldn't put more than 15, 20% into those assets that way. I believe real estate is a monster rocket that's going to happen in 2026 going forward. I think municipalities, elections, all the people, all the folks who know what it takes to get reelected and elected are going to keep taxes low, hopefully keep interest rates low, and with oil prices as low as they have been, it allows interest rates to come down. When interest rates come down, honestly, the best investment to have, yeah, sure, stocks and bonds are great, but real estate. So my portfolio right now, I'm being fully transparent with you, fully transparent. I'm about 70% in bonds right now. I'm very, very skittish, nervous. I wasn't sure how tariffs were going to play out. I'm about 70% in bonds, and the other 25, 30%, 25% of that is into cryptocurrency and gold, 5% into some nonsense stuff that I always play around with. I will move the 70% bond position into likely real estate. I really don't want to get into the stocks in 2026. Maybe a few names. Apple will always be good. I believe NVIDIA is going to be good. I think we're going to lead the charge AI globally, so I would like to still have exposure to AI. But as we get into 2026, so we had a major move up throughout 2025. At the end of the year, all these hedge funds have profitability. They can't sell it. They don't want to sell right now because they're going to maybe force the market down at the last minute. Remember, they're going to be judged on how they did year end. So they're all quiet. I think they'll take some profit into the first quarter of 2026. So I don't think I want to be heavily into any of the stocks with select few names, but generally not into stocks. So I'll say bonds, real estate, and always exposure to crypto and gold. Okay, Hanson Thomas George, all of these who are on Instagram. Dear Eric Bolling, do you recommend me in adding gold or Bitcoin to my IRA portfolio? Sincerely yours, Hanson Thomas George Williams, North Carolina. Hanson Thomas George. I just outlined that there. I think if you're already in gold at $4,550 today, which is Christmas Eve and Christmas, we're closed on Christmas, but it's been a record high, made a record run in the last 10 days, especially strong. I wouldn't add in gold right now. If it's in an IRA, I would maybe wait until 2026, see some profit taking early. And if you have dips, I certainly am a buyer of gold, silver, most of the major metals on dips, and certainly in Bitcoin right now. I'm not adding into Bitcoin yet. Bitcoin specifically at 87,000 ballpark right now. It's very, very tenuous. When it makes a home above 90,000, then I start getting confident in Bitcoin again. Until it stays above 90 and maybe 2-3 weeks without dipping below, like we've dipped above and then dipped below a couple of times, it tells me that the market isn't really sure where it wants to go just yet. Long term, I'm a believer in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Maybe not some of these altcoins and whatnot. I personally like Bitcoin and Ethereum mostly because that's where the big money is, and I'd like to stay where the big money is. It leaves out the ability for smaller, when I say smaller, but bigger but smaller people to manipulate the markets as much. So I think the number gold is about a $28 or $29 trillion market. Believe it or not, all of crypto is only about $2 or $3 trillion net. So it's a very, very young, small asset class right now. But I do believe it will be an asset class of the future. All right, let's take another one. Let's see what we got here. All right, this is also, this one's Facebook. This is Pale Horse, at Pale Horse 1234. With the economy doing so well, why is gold and silver skyrocketed? Aren't they traditionally hedges for a bad economy? Also, what are the pros and cons of owning physical gold in your possession as opposed to gold and silver linked to ETFs? Last time I checked, I couldn't buy much of anything with a chunk of gold or gold coin ever. Merry Christmas, Mr. Bolling. Great question. I've always and only ever owned gold coins and gold bars. I don't buy into the ETFs. Not that I don't trust it. I pretty much do, but I started, well, like I said, I came into Wall Street broke. The first time I was able to afford a regular dinner, I was living first I was in Boston, then New York City, where I was completely broke all the time. First time I started making some money, I just saw gold. I saw gold was going to be a thing. It was probably $500 an ounce at the time. I still have my first quarter ounce of gold that I ever bought at an average price. The full ounce was $536 an ounce at the time. I still have the receipt and the quarter ounce of gold. In fact, I'll bring it out and show you in just a second, all my gold. I own gold, the real stuff, the coins, the bars. Now, the coins are very negotiable. Yeah, you can't go into a Walmart and buy, cleaning materials with gold. You can't do that. But here's more importantly is when you go to negotiate your gold coins, you can go into a coin dealer, you can go into gold, you can go into a pawn shop, and they'll be very, very close to the actual physical price of gold at that moment. So I just believe it or not, purchased a fairly large bulk coin collection. Guy had like 21 ounces of gold, and it was $4,500 an ounce. It was yesterday. It was $4,500 an ounce. I told him I paid $4,400. I mean, it would cost him that much to go negotiate that at a gold dealer or a coin dealer, and we consummated a deal. So I bought him right at the price. But that's the thing you can do. You can walk into these coin shops or gold dealers and negotiate a price based on the exact price right now. Of course, they're going to take a little bit of profit. So I would be very, very skeptical on the fugazi ones, the ones that look like pawn shops. Stay away from those. They're going to rip you off. But a traditional gold, some jewelers actually do it. I know a watch guy. He's a high-end watch guy who takes gold. to sell his watches. And then, he lays off that gold to me because I come and buy it. And then I just simply put it in a safety deposit box in a bank, and I just let it sit there. And it's also the other reason is I believe gold long term. Even now at this price, I believe in it long term. So the least accessible it is to me. If it's in my drawer, I might go and trade it in and go buy something with it. This forces me to be very, very diligent and be 12 different steps to get my gold out of a safety deposit box. Signing it, get there, signing, hope they're open. Makes it harder to sell. If I'm being honest, I would say Bitcoin and gold, I don't want to sell any of them ever. I'm picking my spots to buy more. So I'm never a seller. I'm just looking for opportunities to buy more. And always good idea to keep it in your 401k because that makes you less likely to sell the stuff too. All right, here's a question. How do you stay steady when everything around you feels uncertain and the noise never shuts off? It's an interesting concept because, one of the, like I said, baseball, you go up to bat, right? I'll never forget, I was in college at Rollins College in Florida. I was a senior, and the big league Pittsburgh Pirates were coming to dedicate a brand new stadium we put up, and it was amazing. The whole town was there, TV was there. So the big league, the pros were there. Don Robinson was a pitcher. Bobby Bonilla was playing center field. The whole team. Dale Barrow was playing shortstop. So I get up in the top of the second inning, college kid, and Don Robinson lays a fastball right over the center of the plate, and I hit it over left field fence. It was an amazing feeling. And the point was, there's no amount of preparation you can do for that. I had teammates who were petrified. We were playing the big league pros. Everyone wanted to be a big leaguer. Everyone wanted to get drafted. No one knew if any of us were good enough. I was at a great baseball school on a scholarship, but you never knew. And sure enough, that one hit over left field fence. Of course, the team, Don Robinson, took shit from the team when they got in the dugout because they just completely ripped him. You let a college kid go deep on you. To be honest with you, the second time up, I hit a ball left center, line drive. It was going over the fence. Was only about a 4 or 5 foot fence, and Bobby Bonilla was playing center field, and he put his arm over the center field fence into beyond the fence and grabbed the what would be my second home run against the Pirates. He could have let it go. I'll never forget that. I'll never forgive him for that. But after that second hit, the third base, I was playing third base. Third base coach was just hounding me. You want to be a pro. What's your commitment like? And, at that moment, I realized you can't over-prepare. You just have to be prepared. You have to be there, but you have to be ready to execute. And I was fortunate. I just, for whatever reason, was just ready. And I hit the shit out of the ball that day. And then I also realized it has to be a lot of luck too. And I was very, very fortunate to be playing third base, talking to the third base coach after, honestly taking advantage of a couple of fat pitches that guy probably wishes he didn't put over. But what is pressure? Pressure is that moment walking up to the plate. That's a lot of pressure. And I've noticed, and then taking that same moment, because it was a moment, I'll never forget that moment, the feeling of the crack of the bat. I knew it was gone. As soon as I hit the ball, I knew it was gone. It was beyond emotional. It was exhilarating. I knew I had captured that moment. And it almost like it triggered something like, oh, okay, I get this now. Because I took it to Wall Street, did very well on Wall Street, and then it really translated well for the first day I ever hosted a big-time television show. Fox News, #1, whatever. Glenn Beck's show was #1 at the time, 1 or 2 at the time at Fox, and he had gone on vacation. They said, Bolling, why don't you fill in for Glenn Beck? And it was my first time filling in solo hosting. And it was the same feeling, In fact, the producer said, I'll never forget, Gresh was his name. He said, what would make you feel comfortable? I want you to feel comfortable when the camera comes on first. I said, I don't know, can I hold a baseball bat? And he looked at me, he was like, a news network? Yeah. I swear on my life, the first time I ever hosted Glenn Beck, I was holding a baseball bat. So I'm holding a baseball bat because it just makes me feel comfortable. But the point was, when Glenn Beck's show started, it used to say 3, 2, 1, Beck. And that countdown, so you're waiting for 3 minutes left before the show starts, 2 minutes left before the show starts, 30 seconds before the show starts. Now this emotions are bubbling up. I didn't ever have fear though. It was never fear, it was never panic, it wasn't anxiety, it was anticipation. Like, let's go. When he went 3, 2, 1 back, it was the same feeling. because I delivered that opening monologue, 4 minutes, whatever it may have been. I delivered the way I delivered that first fat pitch right over the plate, over the left field fence. And I don't know where it comes from, but I will tell you, that's the edge. That's the edge. I've had it. I know it. I know how to tap into it. I just can't really define where it comes from. Maybe it's preparation. Maybe it's preparation plus anticipation. Maybe it's preparation, anticipation, and confidence. But maybe it's all three. But I do know that on this show, we continually talk to people who found their edge, who've lost their edge and found it back. And that's what it's all about. I will tell you, on my, God rest her soul, my mother's dying words, and these may sound trivial or you've heard them before. It's honest to God, true story. I spent 8 days bedside with her before she passed away. And the last thing she did, she's leaned over, family's all there, and she grabs me, she says, never quit. I think that was probably the best advice I've ever been told by anyone. Never quit. You got a passion for something, don't let it beat you. You beat it, even if it beats the shit out of you on the way. Because God knows I got the shit kicked out of me every which way, in baseball, on Wall Street, and in TV. And you find out how to get back up, dust your ass off, get back into that batter's box, get back onto that trading floor, get back in front of the camera. If you fuck up one day, you drop a line, you call someone the wrong name. I once called senator, congressman. That's a complete no in television, downgrade. But you don't worry about it. You go home, you get garbage in the media. They tell you you're an idiot, you're a moron, you shouldn't be in the seat. You don't let them get to you, because you know deep down you're going to find your edge and own your edge. All right, how about this one? What do you do when you feel like you're doing everything right, but momentum hasn't caught up yet? So here's something interesting. Momentum's a funny thing. A lot of people confuse momentum with, let's call it, execution, right? So you execute, and finally you start to succeed. You're finding a pattern, a path to fewer walls, a pattern to more profitability on the trading floor, and you continue. Well, momentum isn't something you can do. It's not something you can develop. You can develop the pattern recognition and try the same thing over and over, and if it works, then that's great. And it'll look like momentum from the outside, but momentum, it doesn't really reward your efforts, because you can try really hard and still fail. Momentum rewards endurance. I think it lends to the last question about never quitting. So you can work at something and fail at it. And you know what? I'm going to do it again. You keep doing it. Eventually, you're going to figure it out. You're going to solve it. You're going to solve the variable that's been in the way, the one piece of the recipe that makes the cake taste like garbage. You pull it out, and when you finally pull that out, you start to succeed. You start to hit those patterns again, and that really is momentum. It's not something you plan for or aspire to have momentum. It just is it's almost like the scorecard of how well you've figured out the pattern, recognized the patterns, eliminated the obstacles. All of a sudden, momentum finds you. I think that is, you can't find momentum, no matter how hard you try. Momentum will find you when it's time, when you succeed, when it knows you're right. Okay, this one from X. Again, these folks would prefer their names not mentioned. Do you believe discipline matters more than motivation, and how do you build it when you don't feel inspired? Again, momentum, motivation. Both M's, both are a byproduct of the most important ones. The first one was endurance. You get momentum when it recognizes endurance. You get motivation when you find discipline, right? Discipline is when you don't want to go to the gym, or you don't want to walk the 5 or 6 miles a day that you walk because you're tired. The discipline is getting up and doing it. You may need a motivation. You may need to drink a Red Bull or talk to a friend or look at your bank account. You may need a motivation, but the discipline is what makes you do it time and time again. I think we're recognizing something here. Success is your ability to recognize a pattern, a way of doing things that eliminates the variables that get in the way and also allow you success on this path. You recognize the pattern of that path. Discipline is the same thing. You keep doing it. Discipline and endurance. Keep doing them. Funny little story here. This show is exploding on YouTube, right? They call us the top 0.1% of all new shows on YouTube without the algorithm. The algorithm hasn't kicked in. It hasn't helped. Once an algorithm kicks in onto a YouTube channel, it explodes. The numbers go astronomical, geometric. We haven't had that. We're creating this success without the algorithm. I keep looking to people. I call people. I talk to people. I chat GPT it. I Gemini it. I'm giving them all the numbers that we want, 250,000 views, 13,000 watch hours, 8,000 subs in 90 days from scratch. Starting from scratch is unheard of. Where the hell's the algorithm? And the constant answer back to me is it wants you to prove you're going to be here for the long run. Endurance, cadence. It wants to see regular drops of episodes, regular drops of shorts. Just keep the content and make sure that you can show the algorithm that you're legit and you're here to stay. And that is a really good lesson, life lesson, really. You can look like you're doing everything right and your bank account's not right, or you're doing everything right at work and the boss is promoting someone else. You're doing everything right on television and you don't get the anchor seat. Endurance. Endurance. Mom, never quit. Endurance. You outlast them. You'll outlast the haters. You outlast the disbelievers. I was at CNBC. I was off the trading floor, got pulled off the trading floor. That's another story in itself. I'm walking off the oil trading floor, and someone from CNBC, I think it was, I don't want to say it's Trish Regan. I believe it's Trish Regan, who's working at CNBC as a reporter on the floor. She came up and said, "Hey, RBI," that was my badge, never been on TV before. "What just happened?" And I gave her a good 2 minutes on what I thought just happened in the oil markets. They loved it. Make a long story short, I was picked to do a show called Fast Money. I launched Fast Money at CNBC. And I came off a trading floor, so no one, those were journalists at CNBC. And I'll never forget a producer working with, I think it was Charlie Gasparino, another TV guy who never, ever had to put his own ass on the line or his own money on the line. I have zero respect for people, by the way, who commentate on television who've never done it before, because I have. I wouldn't claim to know shit about Wall Street or crap about television or who knows what about baseball had I not done it before, and I've done all those. So Gasparino's producer says to me, pulls me aside, says, yeah, you're good, but you're never going to really make it. I was like, why? It's crushing. You think here's your next career, and a top level producer says you're not going to make it. Well, your voice is. You're a little too Chicago. You're a little too Midwest, but by the way, but you just don't really have, you don't know enough about journalism to be a good TV host. Yeah, we'll interview you a few times. I was like, oh, really? Okay. It was such motivation for me. I can't tell you, I'm talking about motivation and endurance. I was going to outlast that son of a bitch. I was going to tell that bitch, I'm going to succeed, if nothing else, to prove you wrong. Because I don't care if I have a journalism degree. I don't. Never took a journalism class in my life. But I know when I'm committed to something, I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to succeed at it. And so I went from CNBC, Fast Money, Fox picked me up, and they being like the top of the food chain at Fox. I was filling in for Bill O'Reilly. I had the 5. I launched the 5, center seat of the 5. Came up with this hand signal, if you remember that. So I made it to the top of TV news. So screw you, Rebecca Green. Oh, it's an interesting one. Also doesn't want his or her name mentioned. What do you think modern men are getting the most wrong about strength? Strength. Let me put it this way. There are different ways of interpreting strength. And when I think in this sense, I don't mean he or she is talking about how much weight we can lift. I think strength is, are you a strong man? Are you a strong human being? We talk about men being able to be men again on this show, male motivation, male performance. The strength can be defined as a couple of ways. Do you look strong? Do you act strong? Because that's not really strength. That's loud. That's showy. That's, I want to be perceived as strong. That's not real strength. This real strength comes with how reliable are you under pressure? How reliable are you when they go, we just planned for this show all day. You have everything mapped out. You have the guests mapped out. You have your monologues mapped out. You got your questions ready to go. You have your topics. And they flip the switch 5 seconds before the show and they say, breaking news, something happened in Iowa. You got to go live. Just ad lib for a while. That is strength. That's quiet strength. If you deliver, you're powerful. And I did. I'll tell you a story. I was at Fox. I was asked to host the morning show. It's a 3-hour, brutal. Well, it's 3 hours in the morning. God bless those folks that get up at 4 in the morning and do 3 hours of television for us at 6 to 9. But so I did the 6 to 9, and at some point prior to that, they said, by the way, you're going to host O'Reilly too. So I was going to do 3 hours, 6 to 9 a.m. Then I was going to do the 8 o'clock show at night, the O'Reilly Factor, which is fine. It's a long day, but it's fine. And you want to be on that show because it's prime time, massive audience. At the time, he had 4 million people watching him. So I said, sure. So I do the 3 hours in the morning, and just as O'Reilly is starting, they get in my ear, Hannity is supposed to be in, I want to say Detroit for either a debate, a primary or a debate, whatever it was. He was supposed to be in Detroit, and they lost the signal. The satellite lost the signal. So now they're going, you may have to do Hannity also. So I was going to do O'Reilly right into Hannity. And sure enough, they couldn't get a signal back, so I did O'Reilly into Hannity. I did 3 hours in the morning. It was 5 million people net of the 3. Another 4 million during O'Reilly, another 4 million or so during Hannity. So I did 11, 12 million viewers that night. And I will tell you right now, there's only been one person to ever host both Hannity and O'Reilly on the same night. And you're looking at him right here. The TV gods just lined up for whatever reason. And by the way, we delivered 2 hours of great content, all breaking news. None of it was pre-planned or anything like that. It was a phenomenal day. Okay, Bolling, what's the right way to respond when something you built or believed in doesn't work out? Oh, yeah, you're tapping into something here. Loss. So you build something, you believe in it, you know it's right, you keep doing it. I just told you don't quit. I told you endurance matters. Yeah, that all is. It's true. You just keep going. In fact, you keep going until, I guess, there's an actual plug pulled. Eventually, someone pulls the plug on everything. You get back up, man. You know, we're doing this at Christmas time because most people want to lay back and relax. I don't. I want to deliver. I want to deliver every day. And if not delivering one thing, I want to deliver another. I'm doing the edge because I know the edge is something that I can do because I've lived these 3 worlds and the world of traumatic loss. So I've lived these 4 real arenas, these fiery arenas, and I know I can bring value to people who aspire to be successful. People who maybe started out like me, dead broke in Chicago, kid going to public school, not a penny to my name. I wrote a book in 2016 called Wake Up America. And one of the stories in the book was at 7 years old, biggest rude awakening of my life was when my mom took me to Valueville, which is the Chicago version at the time of like a Kmart. And she said, go grab some sneakers. I was an athlete, go playing basketball. Go get some sneakers. I go and get, they're really cool new sneakers called Pro Keds. I brought them back to the cart. And I'll never forget, she looked at me, and this is earth shaking for me. She said, we can't afford those. Please just grab another pair of non-Pro Keds. And I went and did that. And it was the moment I realized our classes, like I never really realized, what do you mean everyone doesn't just get to do things what they want to do? I never understand. We can't afford that. It was so smashing. It just ruined me. And then, of course, I look at my mom like, how come she can't afford it? She's my mom. She deserves everything. And it was such a motivating factor, right? It was that moment I realized I'm not going to be poor. I don't want to be poor. I don't ever want to be poor. And as soon as I started to get out of the shithole poor world that I lived in, finally, in New York when I started trading, I made sure that everyone was okay. Everyone around me was okay. But these are motivating factors, but you still have to have the endurance and drive. What happens if you finally realize that what you love, something you love, isn't going to work? You got to find something else you love. Got to find something else you love. Be honest with you. The edge is a product of that. I love doing the edge. I love this. It's an area that I can talk to you about because I have experience in it. I'm hoping. You want what a legacy is? A legacy isn't a beautiful house or nice cars in the driveway when you're gone, or a big bank account when you're gone. A legacy is, have you helped other people? Have you helped young people do better, succeed? One of the nicest things in the world is when someone comes up to me and says, oh yeah, I met you at Fox, or I met you at CNBC, or I met you so long ago, and you inspired me to do this or get into media or to do whatever, and look at me now. It is just inspiring. It's legacy. I'm doing The Edge right now because I want The Edge to be my legacy. I want to build this into a monster platform, a movement where at some point, when it's up and running and built, and we're doing TV shows and we're doing appearances in places and we're doing products, and I want to say, walk back and say, here, this is for you. Bring some younger guys on. You take this and run with this. It's built. It's my legacy. I want everyone to remember me. I want people to call me The Edge, but I want other people to gain and elevate themselves with The Edge. I want you guys to elevate yourselves with The Edge. I would like someone to call me and say, you know, I watched The Edge, and it planted something in my brain, in my body, that I got knocked down or I got fired, and I turned around and turned it into something else. I think that is a true legacy. I got one more question here that I want to get to because this was one that was really fun. This is it. This last question, Holly Carson Brown, I believe it's Facebook. Holly says, how do you feel about people who see you in public, strangers, in parentheses, who approach you and say, hi, Eric. Funny story. I was with my daughter at Hall's Chop House in Charleston, South Carolina. You literally walked up to the bar, stood beside me and ordered a drink. Took a lot of strength for me not to fangirl and say hello. You were there with your wife and friends, so I didn't want to bother you. I adore that. I love, Holly, please come up to me. Please come up to me. I go out, sometimes I'll see people like kind of looking and pointing or whatever. I'll walk up to them like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Eric. And they go, oh, you're Eric. And to a T, let's take a picture. I think this is really important to do. Like, because people on TV do things in media for ego, gratification, whatever. Yeah, but nothing is quite like putting my arm around someone and saying, hey, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for noticing me. You know, I have to do that. I want you to do it. I'll never be rude about it. In fact, I was just in Phoenix, and a young guy comes up to me. He's like, you know, he's like 17 or 18 years old. He's like, my mom is a huge fan of yours. I'm like, well, call her. He looked at me like, what? I said, call her. She's in Michigan. I said, so what? Call her. And we spoke to her. I've done that 100 times. Come up to me. You have someone in the family that has watched or whatever wants to say hi. If I got enough time, believe me, I will spend that time to make that phone call, because I think this is one of the most important things I can do. Maybe that's part of the legacy as well. Be able to be recognized, but also be able to be a decent person too on top of it. All right, well, I will get these cool T-shirts out to the folks who, I love these T-shirts, guys. Look, on the back, they got a QR code. It's these really cool T-shirts. Anyway, these are the Edge T-shirts. I'm going to send it out to some of the folks that sent their questions in, and we'll send one. We'll pick one and send something really cool. But I will report back to you. Have a great holiday, Christmas today, New Year's. We'll do a New Year's show next week, too. We have few shows coming up in January. We have some major new shows. Ray Lewis, the Hall of Fame linebacker, he was feared. Ray Lewis was on the field. Teams would develop their playbook around staying away from Ray Lewis. He's coming on the show. Really good guy. Very, very successful man post-NFL, which is a fascinating story. Also, we have a wellness center. There's a new wellness center I want to talk to you about. I want to show you. I'm going to go into it. It's for anti-aging / wellness, and there's hyperbaric chambers that you can actually be on your phone doing. Hyperbaric chambers are great for reducing inflammation. Infrared, not in the sauna, so you don't have to sweat. You just have infrared booths. There are plunges, ice plunges, where you don't even get wet. It's a wild story. It's a beautiful salon, beautiful, almost like a gym, but it's for all health and wellness. Every station is something different, whether it's supplements, creatine, peptides, or just you get into being healthy, Super, super healthy, really fascinating. And then I have another one with a couple of former NFL and Major League Baseball producers. Phenomenal, telling you inside how they produce a baseball game from the television aspect, or a football game. Fascinating. Got a lot more planned for you in January, and then all throughout 2026, some big things coming on the Edge. Stick around. Tell your friends. Please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you know people who think you'd be benefit from the Edge, I think every human being on the planet could benefit from what we talk about on this show. Please introduce them to the show, and please ask them to subscribe. Thank you very much. I love you all, and have a great holiday season. Eric Bolling, out.